Hey guys, how's it going? Octopus here, and welcome back to evercrisis. We're going to be talking about Lucia and Yuffie's summer outfit plus weapons, if they're worth it with all the banners going on right now. Vincent coming out, guilds, 1 year anniversary in September, plus all the banners that just happened. We are a little bit, not overwhelmed, just a lot of options. And you really got to sit down and be like, this is what my account needs, or you say, screw it, waifu and husbando. Meta doesn't matter. The only 1% difficulty in this game is the critical threat co-op and single. Everything else is very fun to play, very easy. Most of the time we're autoing everything, especially if you're like an older player. Newer players will catch up to that point without a problem, I guarantee it. And weapons are just getting better and better because they have double utility while doing damage on them. So go into this banner in the sense that you're pulling for the costume. The costume is the most important thing. Once you get a costume, you dip. Limited banners have multiple ways to get multiple weapons, so we like to aim for OB6, but these banners, we aim for the costume. And does that costume make a difference? I will be going over the costume and the weapon, but a heads up again, all those things coming out, all the things you're saving for, or previous banners you might want, keep that in mind as we do this review, because there's a lot to think about. Let me break it down. Though, if you do like Yuffie and you do like Lucia, or you think they might fit somewhere, they will, but there's also characters that kind of do it better. That shouldn't matter, because every character is going to do something eventually. DPS, heal, utility, they all kind of supplement so you can play whoever you want eventually. Lucia's almost there. She's starting off really strong with this banner. Yuffie just keeps getting better and better. So we're going to start off with Yuffie. Now, I think her costume is fantastic. The color scheme, the white on orange, the little Moogle headband here, right? You got the bandana on the waist and a safety. Something to save lives, kills lives. This is absolutely great. Everything matches her persona, her personality, her costume design. It all works really well with her. What does it do? It's an Arcanum 35%. You can't go wrong with Arcanums in this game, and it's fire. So having that hot damage is going to be really, really good in multiple situations. And now we got ourselves a new R ability called Sun's Favor, which increases HP by 5%. And physical defense plus 15%. Last night, and every other critical threat, the one thing that makes or breaks the team is having the proper defense up. HP at the moment is very good. It's just healers can't keep up with how much HP we have now. So let's say you have 15 to 20,000 HP. My Red 13 has almost 16k HP. My healer can only heal for 5,000. I have to cast 3 heals to fully heal them, and the bosses usually bring them down all the way down to 10%. But instead of stacking HP, if we stack defenses and elemental resist, we don't need as much HP. And now we can tank a hit and our healers can heal us to full in one hit. So leaning towards stuff that has defense and magic defense is way more important when it comes to the harder content. Like if you're doing your high wind, I highly recommend you guys go towards magic defense and physical defense increase versus getting more HP. HP is still good. But when you get to the really hard stuff and your healer has to heal quickly and multiple attacks are coming, you need that defense so your healer can max you out. So Sun's Favor is the best R ability I've seen so far when it comes to having that HP survivability. It is amazing. I'd rather have this than HP plus 10. Hands down, obvious choice. So to me personally, this costume is going to be key for this character and future characters that pull this off. Not only do you have the Arcanum, you now have the survivability, so you don't have to go in your back end and put on an event weapon that has physical defense or magic defense on it. You now just get that 15% on top of everything, and if you do the high wind thing, you can just start stacking damage again instead of trying to change your weapons around. So I think these costumes are really good, especially because it's still a DPS and any fire weapon she gets in the future will benefit from it. Now her weapon, the striped Moogle float, at 1 base copy, it's going to do 390 AoE damage on fire, physical. It's going to raise your fire damage if your HP is 50%, which is a good threshold, which is really good, and it's got a circle sigil. If you OB6 this weapon, you're going to go from low to high still and low to high still. No matter how you have this, it's low to medium, low to high, but at 30 seconds to 35 seconds. And since it's now limited, we are looking towards OB10. So at OB10, 700% AoE fire damage. This thing's going to be very powerful. I'm going to pause right here and tell you, just like I told you about Kuja Blade and all that, when it works, it works. Kuja Blade, AoE, attack down, magic attack down, works wonders. But most of the time we're facing one enemy and we only have to give that one enemy everything we got, where the side enemies don't need that. The future can change. We can get double bosses, triple bosses that all need to be attacked at the same time, die at the same time, or ads that need to be wiped out because we're too busy. Like right now, the new critical threat, we have to sigil break while also killing side ads. But you have to use all your ATB for the sigil breaking, so you have to rely on summons. So it's very hard to get everything done at once. So this is a really good weapon in the sense of 700% potency is powerful. People use 5-star materias on 30% materia slots, and that's only about like 400 potency, where this is 700 potency to everybody. On a fully built Arcanum setup, this is going to do a ton of damage, even to a single target. A good example is Aerith's Easter weapon. It does 630%, and then if it's a single target, it does 810%. So this is another good AoE fire weapon. 630 all enemies if it's a single target times 1.3, which is 810, and this does a ton of damage. Sorry, I needed a drink. My throat's going. The thing that this weapon does 700% damage to all enemies constantly is very good, but compared to like something Aerith's weapon, the Easter one, that one has a lot more value when it comes to the actual potency, but this comes with a buff, right? Fire damage is increased low to high. Even though it's low and it builds up for 4 ATB, you're only going to be casting this over and over and over again. So the fact that it will go to high and probably stay there for a good duration of the fight, even if it resets, it's okay. It just also has a 50%. So it's going to be a little hard to control the fire damage on it. But the 700% alone is still very good. Again, Murasami Cloud, 750%, clearing all the content I just did. Now imagine a 700% AoE. When you fight double worms or double enemies, especially the worms. You guys know when 2 worms are on the field, if you can kill both of them at the same time, that is fantastic, right? Get them out of the way. They're so annoying. But overall, I think the weapon's really good. Really, really good, and we can get it over time. But it's not pull worthy right now. Like if you pulled for the costume in one weapon, you're getting 390 physical and fire damage increase. Your Yuffie's going to do better than a materia slot character in that sense. But realistically, overall, over time, once this hits like OB6, OB7, 700% is really, or sorry, OB10 is really nice. It's just a long way to work from there. That's what makes the polling for the weapon skippable. But I think the costume is key to a lot of future content. It doesn't have to be this costume, but future ones like it. And this might be one of its only kind that gives HP and 15%. Like Red 13 was one of the most unique ones, having 15% ice resist and fire resist, and we haven't seen much of them, so they're going to be far apart. Speaking of that, we're going to talk about Lucia in a second. But wish listing for Yuffie, very straightforward, dude. You freaking just put her new weapon in the main hand because it is what it is. 4639, and then you have the boomerang to back it up with fire resist down. So not only are you going to do an AoE damage, you're going to be raising your fire attack, but she can also do fire resist down while giving the proper R abilities of 4639, just like her new weapon. So you automatically go into 55 points, which is 85% damage, and then you can do whatever you want in the back. Add a little bit more for the 100%, which I do recommend. 110 not really necessary, but 100% is a good spot. So one more fire weapon and you're golden from there. So very, 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 very powerful setup. And if you don't want to use a fire resist down and you want her to buff another DPS that's with you and herself, she can raise physical attack with Arctic Star. Plus she gets buff duration, so now that low, medium to high fire attack that she's doing AoE to raise her fire buff makes more sense, because you can now apply this to the build and you can get, what is it, 80% increase in her buff duration, including putting it to someone else as well with the physical attack. So she's going to buff herself. That's going to last a long time. So that's another good thing to wishlist with her and use. And then you can use this in the back. It doesn't have to be in her offhand. You can use it for the boosting, for just the R abilities, but fire resist down is very important for a lot of quests. Then the rest is just building your boost attack or building more fire potency. You can mix and match this, but while you're pulling, or in the future, Lucia's new weapon has R abilities of boost physical ability potency with fire potency. So that eventually is going to take over a lot of fire builds that are physical. So that's a good option later on when you're wish listing to help her out. But as of now, Rage Caller, really good one, 31 points. Not giving as much fire, but we don't need as much fire in this build since her front end will carry most of that weight. But again, Crimson, boost attack, fire potency, and then Zac has 3152 fire potency. These are all options you guys can do. And then when it comes to like the physical attack ones, we have Sephiroth's, which can be on the team and use Arctic Star, and then Sephiroth lowers physical defense while also lowering fire resist. So this is a good combination to play with Yuffie on the same team. But if not, you can use his physical attack, boost attack as well. But she has a lot of physical attack on her build already that it's not really justified to put those on. Just if you do want to mix and match them, there's options. Same thing with Cloud Sky Splitter. Then you have the HP weapons. All right, Kate Sith also has some physical attack, HP, R abilities with fire. So lots of options to go out there and go ahead and start boosting this Yuffie. So she has fantastic R abilities. She's got great damage, great costume. But the banner you're pulling for the style, waifu, and that costume, even if the fire arcanum is not being used, having HP and 15% is very good. Is it good enough to go out of your way? That depends on the future content. All right, that weapon is going to be wish listed, but the costume I think has a ton of value. Same thing with Lucia now. Lucia's costume, it has buff duration on it, which is just a solid buff duration. Doesn't have to have any other R abilities. You get 60% no matter what, which works very well. And she's got the HP and 15%, and you already know how I feel about that. I think this is a step in the right direction to make Lucia a better character. Now, does her kit allow that to be much better as well? So her new Marine Shooter at OB1, you're going to get yourself a physical attack is decreased all enemies mid. At OB6, it's mid to high, still mid to high at OB10. Now her second one at 50% or more HP, fire resist is decreased, all enemies mid to high, OB6 is high, OB10 is high, obviously. So fantastic weapon. It costs 4 ATB, but it has fire materia slot and a triangle sigil because her weapon itself doesn't add it. Just like Sephiroth's weapon, any other weapon that lowers resistance doesn't add the actual damage to itself. It just gives you non-elemental and then it does a bunch of utility. But it's a lot of utility on one weapon. Again, the game is really screaming that your weapon now has to do more than one thing. That way your entire team has more than just 6 abilities. They now have 12 abilities, right? So it's a very, very important thing to have multiple things in one. So that's what makes these weapons so good. But this is something you can pull one copy off of a wish list or just pull on this banner and you've got someone to work on that team. I think in the future, this R ability is going to work very well, especially because we can complement this and lose a little bit of boost attack, and this will add more value depending on the build. But overall, the costumes in this banner are worth it. When Lucia becomes more of a utility character that you can rely on and bringing in, I'm going to do a wish list right now for you guys, but when she does get to that point, this costume is going to be one of the key features to help her survive while also increasing her buffs and debuffs that she'll do eventually. So let's break this down as what is her utility and how much is she going to help when it comes to these fights. The thing is that she has a lot, and this buff duration costume with survivability is going to help when it comes to stuff like using Rose Musket. On a team where you need to lower magic defense and you want to apply fire damage at the same time, this is going to help you out in that sense, and it has a sigil break, so it's going to work really well with this weapon to lower more than 30 seconds. Right? Then we got Thunderbird, which with like the new Lightning Tifa, magic defense is decreased mid to high, and you do lightning damage while having good R abilities. And then we've got Bald Eagle, which again, it's ice resist down, and you get to do some sort of damage, but it's non-elemental, but you do have an ice materia slot here. So helping other DPS's elements, she's going to do very good in that. So this works in that sense that she can do this while also applying good R abilities on herself, so her materia works. Or if she finally gets a weapon that matches these, it works really well. Then for utility wise, this weapon, the Mad Minute, is going to lower magic attack while also giving her survivability and more boost attack. Plus the new weapon as well lowers physical attack mid to high. So she has the utility of lowering physical attack, lowering magic attack, putting down all these different element resist. So she's going to be there purely for being what like Red 13 does and other utility characters that are supporting to survive. Because in the really hard stuff, like the summons, the critical threats, you need a character like this. So she's in a good place now. She's going to survive because of her costume. Her buffs and debuffs are going to last longer. She's going to make the main DPS do crazy amount of damage. She's going to be good in co-ops. So this actually gives her a good setup. She doesn't have a weapon that defines her besides her earth build, but there's no earth summon. Boost earth potencies are not in the greatest place, right? Especially with magic. So she does have a DPS section, but she's built specifically to be a utility character, right? She does have this Serpent Eater for water, but she doesn't have that Water Arcanum to go with it. So there is a utility character we can now bring in. So if you're a Lucia fan, you now have the option. So that's why I say this banner is really good, but you have to love what you're doing with this character. She can use in physical attack down, magic attack down, fire resist down, thunder resist down, ice resist down. That is a lot of utility. That is a lot of utility. So it's really good to see this. Magic defense will decrease as well. She will be brought in, but you have a lot of work to do on wish listing and a lot of characters to swap around. So if you're already someone who's using, like me, Red 13, I wouldn't consider her because he already does all that resist down, multiple weapons, and then he has that great limit break that erases attack buffs and magic buffs. Where an enemy's immune to physical attack down, magic attack down, he just goes, bop, it's gone, doesn't matter. I didn't debuff you, I removed it, right? So like he's real full utility. So really good character. These are all options depending on how you want to build her, because her new setup, yes, it does scream boost physical, fire potency, and then you could mix that over here, but nothing else is really going to give you that fire damage, right? You've got heal cast, you've got wind, you've got non-elemental damage, right? You've got thunder, but it's only your ability. Besides that, it just lowers magic defense, or sorry, raises magic defense, right? So there isn't anything to complement this build to use it as damage. It's mainly she is the support. So when you're pulling for it, you're pulling for her utility setup to complement that. You're not really building towards doing damage. You're building towards making her make someone else stronger while surviving lethal hits. So fantastic costumes. Weapons can be wishlist later, or you choose which one you want. In my sense here, if you already have another character you worked on, like Red 13, that's helping with the utility, Lucia is not really a must. If you're Lucia main, it doesn't matter what I say. But these costumes and costumes like these in the future are going to be game changers, especially on the right characters. And it gives these characters the head start, so the more weapons they get in the future, it just gets better and better since costumes don't return. It's one of those investments you do for now and in the future. But with everything going on, that's a choice you have to make. Who do you like the most? Go for it. That's my advice. When it comes to meta, only 1% of the game is hard, and you get, what do you get for it? You get a symbol that no one really looks at, and 200 blue crystals, right? So if you want to spend all your time trying to get this, then yeah, obviously go for meta. But I'm not just talking about this quest, but any quest in the future. Everything else is permanent. The hardest summons are permanent. They're not going anywhere. The tower, it's not going anywhere, right? All the story quests, EXs, they're not going anywhere. Event-wise, you can pretty much use whatever you want except for critical threat, and the reward doesn't justify how much you got to build a character. But if you want to build characters and pull for meta, that's up to you. This is definitely meta costumes and definitely game-changing weapons in the right situations, especially if AoE bosses become more important. Something like this, but the flans weren't too crazy. So in the end, I do give these costumes a solid 10 out of 10. Weapons are like an 8 out of 10, I would say. Is it a must right now? No. Is it something you want to build up? Yes. Definitely yes. If I had the blue crystals and I want to make Yuffie or Lucia stronger, I would start with this costume because that 15% defense increase makes a huge difference in a lot of setups. So Cool to see this. I like these new R abilities. This one is very simple. A lot of you guys are going to skip unless you really like the costume. But let me know what your thoughts are on this banner regardless. Are you going for it? Are you skipping all this? Vincent's coming, so you know my answer. I did what I did with the Monster Hunter banners. I don't regret it because Aerith has been an absolute beast. I carrying in solo, not solo, in co-ops and solo actually, and all the hard content with her healing and defense up. So it's great to see her in the spotlight. And Cloud's setup made him that much stronger and self-sustainable, which is even better. So I don't regret my choices. I just got to start saving for Vincent. Let me know what you're doing. Besides all that, thank you so much for watching. Keep on smiling, and I'll smell you later.